Okay, good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Town of Rocky Hill Open Space and Conservation Commission regular meeting agenda for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. I'd like to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
I'd like to make a motion on the appointment of secretary to the agenda. Just past the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure. Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. All right. Is all in favor for that? So we're good. Okay. At this point, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to appoint Commissioner David Schweitzer as Secretary of the Open Space and Conservation Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
Third and fourth.
Yeah, you're not seated yet, Todd. Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? No, okay. Congratulations, Secretary Schweitzer. And also, Vice Chair Kurz is not here. Voting in her place is Commissioner Beatty. And you guys, yeah. And I understand that Melissa is now a full member and you have a new alternate. Derek, who is not here this evening. So we will introduce him more formally at the next meeting. Okay, next item on the agenda is public. Is there anybody here from the public that has anything to say that is regards to anything that is not on the agenda? Okay, all right. Next item is application for permits. So we're going to go ahead and start with AR Building Company, Inc., care of Emily Mitchell, proposal to construct multifamily residential development with associated parking, sidewalks, landscape utilities, and stormwater management located at 200 Capitol Boulevard, AKA parcel ID number 16-269. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi,
ready to proceed?
go ahead, it's all yours.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Schmitz. I'm a civil engineer with BL Companies, 355 Research Parkway, Meriden, Connecticut, representing the applicant tonight. We were here a month ago the application was accepted. We kind of gave a brief overview of the site. We've since provided some revised plans to the commission, very similar to what you saw last time. You'll see them again tonight. I'll present them. This is the same development plan, multifamily residential project. This slide you see up in front of you today is just an overall aerial view of the site. 200 Capitol Boulevard, it's approximately 22 acres in size. We have 2 wetland areas on the site, just under a total of 3 acres in size total. We are proposing work within the upland review area on site, and we'll be disturbing approximately 7.5 acres of the site. If we go to the next slide, so this is a copy of the existing survey, and it shows the existing contours of the site today, how it's developed, as well as the 2 green areas, which represent the 2 inland wetland areas. Tonight with me is Sagan Simcoe, our soil scientist, and I'm just going to ask him to come up and say a few words about the wetlands. He'll kind of give an overview of that, and then I'll follow up with some more presentation regarding the actual development itself. Thanks.
Good evening. My name is Sagan Simcoe. I'm the soil scientist and wetland scientist with BL Companies. Basically, as you see, there's really just 2 areas of wetlands at the site. Both wetlands appear to have Menlo soils within them. However, the majority of the site is actually mapped the Hollyoak and rock outcrop soil series. There's a small area of Eudorthins and urban land along the northern side, and also there's a small area of Raypole silt loam, which is a hydric soil in the very eastern corner of the site. So yeah, I went out and did transects and looked at the soils throughout the whole site, And these were the areas that I was able to identify wetlands at. So, if you have any questions regarding the wetlands, I'd be happy to answer them.
Commissioner Beatty, do you have any questions regarding wetlands?
No.
Commissioner Brown?
No.
Commissioner Stevens?
Okay. Scott Stevens, registered soil scientist also.
Microphone. No, you're fine.
Oh, now I'm on, I guess.
Now you're on.
Okay.
That's better.
Scott Stevens, registered soil scientist. Looking at the map, and I'm just curious. You say you have, well, first of all, there's certain areas along, say the eastern side of wetland A, and basically almost most of wetland B. Doesn't seem like a tremendous amount of topography. It looks pretty flattish, I'd say.
Yeah, especially wetland B is fairly flat. It does slope to the southwest. Wetland A at the eastern end, there's a shallow groundwater seep that comes out that feeds that, and it just drains to the west into the western portion of the
So
site.
my main, a couple different comments. You weren't at the last meeting,
No.
but I just commented on, it seems like you were doing almost more of a federal wetland delineation instead of a Connecticut wetland, or?
When I go out, I look at the soils and the hydrology and the vegetation.
Okay.
So I do all three while I'm out there.
But you
so.
know that in Connecticut, soil, the wetlands are just based on the soil type, and it's just the poorly drained, very poorly drained floodplain alluvial.
Correct,
So
that's why I also looked at the Raypool soil that's mapped in the very eastern corner, and
Yep.
the whole area along Capitol Boulevard and Enterprise Drive has been historically disturbed, so I
Sure.
did not see any hydric soil or
Yep.
poorly drained soil in that
And
area.
so we do, a similar thing that you do. We look at all the existing maps and the town GIS and NRCS. I also look at old SCS maps. I don't know if you have any access to those. And like my father, I don't know if a lot of you know, but he used to work for the SCS, and they would look at like literally hundreds of acres a day. So a lot of those maps that were done by the SCS and then they got transferred into the NRCS maps, it's really only for general planning purposes.
Right,
And even the newer NRCS Web Soil Survey maps, most of the soil types, they limit it to only 3 acres in size. So really, there's not a lot of detail on those maps. I'm just surprised that you, throughout the whole site, you're only finding well-drained Holyoke and very poorly drained Menlo. You didn't find any Wilbraham, poorly drained Wilbraham or moderately well-drained, like, say, Watchog soils?
not really, no, I was
Because
just,
usually with wetlands like this, if it's fairly flat, you're gonna get, tremendous amounts of moderately well-drained soils too.
yeah,
So-
and that's what I was mostly seeing, was well-drained soils. It was quite a contrast between the wetland soils and the upland soils in this particular site.
Okay, well, I
Especially in
would
the-
think on that eastern end of wetland A, you'd have some moderately well-drained soils, and most of the area all around wetland B, you likely have some moderately well-drained soils, so just kind of want to clarify that.
Yes.
And then also I don't really have a problem so much with your wetland line along where there's steep slopes, because that's pretty obvious, but it's where these areas where there's not really a lot of topo. And and I know you flagged it, and then you located the flags by GPS. So they weren't surveyed wetland flags then?
Well, our GPS, when you're in the woods, it could be a little bit less accurate, but
Yeah.
our GPS is
Because
very,
some of the wetland lines don't really match up to the topo very well, so that's why I was curious if it's possible that some of those flags might not be located correctly.
I think we can guarantee with the GPS that we use, they'd be within 2 or 3 feet
Okay.
with the vegetated cover out there.
Because like, for instance, on wetland B, you've got 2 wetland flag number 10, and one of the flags is way up on the slope.
Yeah, sometimes you'll have hillside seeps, that's probably what
And
that
then
was,
like your
but,
flags 16 and 17 are way into the area that looks like a fairly flat wetland area. So just, to me, some of the flags look a little suspicious. And then also, down that swale on the southern side of wetland B, where it goes down into there's a pipe that crosses Enterprise Drive. Did you find a water course in that swale?
No, there was no water course there. There was definitely some indications of, like, after heavy rain, you'll have the leaves moved a little bit. There was zero contour as far as a channel or anything like that.
So more of a drainage swale then?
After like a very heavy rain, yeah.
I personally would like to go out and do a site walk on the site. I don't know if any of you, we could put it up to a vote later. But that's kind of my concerns. There's a lot going on in that area that's on the southern side of wetland too.
Right.
There's storm drainage, there's utilities going through there. So I think that's kind of an important area to just kind of look at that and make sure that everything looks appropriate.
Right, I agree.
We've got, just so you know, we have 2 soil scientists on our,
Oh, okay.
on our commission here.
Yeah, one of them is in here tonight.
So that's all I have for now.
Okay, Commissioner Secretary Schweitzer?
No comments on the wetland portion.
Okay. Anything? No? Hi, Derek. Okay. Derek is now here, so this is Derek. He's our new, he's a new commissioner. He's an alternate. You will be voting this evening.
Okay.
Okay, just so you know, so, thank you. Okay, I don't have any questions for you. I agree with Commissioner Stevens that I think a site walk, just to look at those wetlands, the southern wetland too, that we take a look at them and see what's going on. So I agree with that, and we can go ahead and vote on that, or recommend that later. Okay, thank you.
Hi again, John Schmitz. I think we can flip to the next slide and walk through the rest of the development. So this is a rendered site plan, just showing you how we propose to develop the site. Again, very similar to what you saw last time. The development plan still consists of 3 multi-story residential buildings, a total of 153 units, a smaller clubhouse building next to a pool on the northerly end. The site addresses on Capitol Drive, but our access to the site is off of Enterprise, and we have 2 driveways on the southerly side. We don't see in the aerial is the new medical facility. It's across the street from us on the south. We are trying to line up our driveway. Our easterly driveway would line up with the medical facilities driveway, which is how we determine where those driveways would be. So again, we would have both driveways up accessing the central parking area, a total of 226 parking spaces on the site. The central portion of the site is the high point of the site. We have a couple of different watersheds, mostly draining to the south. We do have obviously high points roughly where the clubhouse building is today. So some water draining today towards the wetland A to the north and the northwest, and then some water also draining currently to the wetland on the right towards Capitol Boulevard. The wetlands on the right, which is I think wetland B, I think as discussed previously, there's a small drainage ditch to the south end of that runs down to a storm pipe in Enterprise Drive. So that area there is basically drains towards the south, doesn't drain into the wetlands. We do propose 3 surface ponds shown here along Enterprise Drive. Those are for stormwater purposes so that we can collect our stormwater and discharge it. What we try to do is mimic existing conditions. So we're putting our proposed stormwater where the existing stormwater goes today, and that water is running down into Enterprise Drive as well as into the existing pipe that's there today, conveys water through the development across the street. So interestingly enough, when the medical building was constructed across the street, the town was given an easement to extend pipes from Enterprise Drive south down to the brook. So that water all is separated out. It's a separate stormwater system from the healthcare site, and that water all discharges down eventually towards the brook. I think if we go to the next slide. Yes, this is just kind of an overall showing the site development that we just looked at, but In green highlighted here, we see the wetland areas. Yellow is the 100-foot upland review area. So it kind of gives you an idea of the impacts that we have where we are in the upland review area. And just, again, we did modify the plan slightly from last time, so I'll give you some new numbers. Our total disturbance in the upland review area is 35,100 square feet, so roughly 0.8 acres. On the north side, the disturbance is roughly 7,000 square feet in the upland review area. And on the east side, disturbance is roughly 28,000 square feet. And again, the bulk of the area on the east side where we're disturbing, we talked a little bit about the utility line. There's a sanitary line to get over to the existing sewers in Capitol Boulevard. That area today is within the 100-foot upland review area, but it's not in the watershed to the wetlands because all that land drains down towards Enterprise Drive. So I just wanted to point that out. Stormwater has been designed. Actually, I think if we go to the next slide, I can talk a little bit about the stormwater design. So this is the copy of the stormwater plan, grading and drainage. Yellow highlights are some of the storm pipes. We're collecting stormwater in catch basins throughout the site. All the catch basins will be installed. They're designed with deep sumps, 4-foot sumps, as well as hooded outlets to help with cleaning floatables, things of that nature. We have 4 hydrodynamic separators on the site. Those are highlighted in kind of those 4 brown areas. You see them, 2 are right adjacent to Enterprise Drive, and 2 are a little bit further up the driveways. The blue areas kind of represented the stormwater ponds. They're not going to be permanent water ponds. They're not designed to hold water permanently. They're designed to infiltrate stormwater. That is, those ponds are in areas where actually rock is much deeper. I noted that we're going to be developing in the upper areas of the site where we'll be cutting and we'll begin to rock significantly. But in the lower areas, we're going to be above rock by roughly 6 feet or so. So we do have some more overburden area there, and water can drain into the underlying soils, and then eventually be discharged into the system, into Enterprise Drive. And then again, as I noted, further south into the existing brook, again mimicking the existing patterns. We do meet the new stormwater guidelines from DEP, so we're providing for water quality volume retention of 1.3 inches of stormwater. That's the first 1.3 inches of rainfall. That would be retained in the basins and then not discharged through the system. That water would infiltrate into the ground. So we're treating stormwater in that manner. And then just briefly, if we flip to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about just the erosion control. We do have an erosion control plan. Right now, we're showing two entries, basically coinciding with where we have our driveways now. The proposed sediment, or the proposed water quality basins, detention basins rather, would also double throughout construction as sediment basins. We'd be cleaning them out, monitoring them. I think there was a question last time about providing some water breaks, some water bars in the driveways to ensure that water would get into those basins and not out into Enterprise Drive. So certainly it's something we're going to have to take a look at and keep an eye on throughout construction. And then again, to protect wetlands, there's perimeter controls around the development. For the most part, the only area that really drains towards the wetlands would be the larger building on the east side, the rear of that building. Some of that area would drain down towards the wetlands. So again, we would have silt fence, hay bales in those areas to protect and keep sediment within the development area. The entire site would be ringed with perimeter silt controls. Again, siltation fence, hay bales, that sort of thing, to prevent soils from leaving the site. And then I just wanted to touch upon a couple things that were discussed at the last meeting. There was some question about NDDB. We did reach out to the state. I do have a copy of that letter, if it's okay if I could drop that. I have a couple of copies, actually. So,
Yeah, might as well.
Thank you.
So after the last meeting, there was a discussion or question about NDDB, so we did go back and get in touch with the state, and they did provide this letter. I see it's dated on the 12th of December, and it just notes that the hit, what they found in their database was that the site was has potential habitat for an eastern box turtle, which is a species of special concern here in Connecticut. And then the DEP provides guidelines for how to kind of design your project and work, make recommendations for how to develop a site with turtles in mind, with disturbance, talking about biologists, how we can plan the project, be aware of turtles. I think there's some time of year restrictions based on when the turtles are I don't know what the word is, when they're nesting, when they're hibernating, I guess. So there's some discussion about that. And of course, because like I noted, we're disturbing 7.5 acres of the site, so we will be pulling a general permit to disturb, to discharge stormwater from a construction site, which means the general permit has to go through DEP. They require this letter. They'll require that we provide documentation for how we're going to deal with these type of, or deal with the eastern box turtle. So we are proceeding, with that as we go forward. Obviously, the general permit's not something we would submit to DEP until, it doesn't have to be in until like 60 days or 90 days before we start construction, and we're very far away from that. So it's something in the future that we'll have to contend with. In addition, I think there were some questions last time just about some of the earthwork, and I noted we did submit some revised plans, so we do have some new earthwork numbers. Let's get to that. So the job is an export, meaning that we're going to generate material. We're looking at approximately 18,000 yards of rock cut, and we're looking at approximately 7,200 yards of export. So there will be cuts and fills on the site. We'll be cutting, obviously, overburden and earth. We'll be cutting rock, and then we'll be reusing as much of that on site as possible. And then, again, there will be an excess of 7,200 yards of material that would leave the site. Obviously, a portion of that would be, for instance, topsoil. The site was a farm for decades. There's quite a bit of topsoil there. Just by virtue of building buildings and parking lots, we're adding about 4 acres of impervious area. So there's 4 acres of topsoil that can't be replaced. So that will be part removed, trucked off. That's part of the 7,200 cubic yards. Trying to think what else. We did also receive earlier, based on the new plans, staff did review. We have 2 memos from staff. I assume the commission's seen the memos. So some of it's technical. I don't have an issue really with any of the comments. We certainly address them with some revised plans and provide the information requested. There's requests about providing the geotechnical report we have, operations and maintenance schedule. There's questions about providing some additional details on the plans. Certainly have no issues with that. Providing some snow storage areas, we can highlight that on some revised plans where that would be. Questions about native species. They highlighted a number of species, including some daylilies or flowers. I talked to the landscape architect. We certainly don't have any issues with swapping those things out for something else. And there was a question. The one question I really need to get back to and speak with our client about is the question about town conservation easement. Again, we're at 22 acres now. We're only disturbing about 7.5, so we are around 14.5 acres of undisturbed site that would be left in its natural state. So we just have to speak with the applicant about how they want to proceed on that. But again, we're not proposing to develop that area at this point, so it would just be left in its natural state anyway. And again, just Mr. Palmberg's questions, again, some technical things, EV parking, things of that nature. So certainly don't have an issue with updating plans to address some of those items, and then again, providing the additional details that are requested. So I think,
The point of my comment about the drainage pipe on the eastern side of the site was just asking for clarification. I understand there's maybe not a defined channel, but my point I wanted to make was, is the pipe necessary? I understand it flows in that direction now from the wetland, and the way that the pipe is shown on the plans, the elevations, you would not be draining the wetland, but what would be the downside of not installing that pipe? I mean, it didn't seem that it would flood Capitol Boulevard or.
right, yeah, I mean, the only downside would be that right now, I guess we run some calculations, but right now, so the area, can we go back to the last slide? Because I think it's highlighted there. So we're talking about the pipe on the right-hand side of the plan there that's to the south end of Wetland B. So that was the area that was discussed previously about the kind of drainage ditch that's in that area. And so at some point, if there's enough rainwater, the wetlands will pond, water will pond up, and then it would drain down through that discharge point. And we certainly run some calcs to make a determination like what volume capacity is in there prior to water discharging. So we could certainly come up with a number. But to your point, if the pipe wasn't there, the water wouldn't discharge at all. It would just become, so for instance, today, let's say that 1 foot of water ponds there before it starts to discharge. Without that pipe, you could get 2 feet of water or 3 feet of water. It all depends on how much rain has fallen, if it's 6 inches of rain or 3 inches of rain. So they're variables. But without that outlet, the wetland, there would be no discharge location for that. But again, the water, you would need 10 feet of water to fill up to get water into Capitol Boulevard. So it's not.
I brought it up for the conversation. That's
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not like an emergency thing, but we could take it out. We could leave it in. I think it wouldn't make a difference really to us. It's just
Go ahead.
Quick question, I probably should have asked it before. With these very poorly drained soils and you mentioning that the area might pond water, has any inspection or evaluation been done for possible vernal pools or potential vernal pools?
Yeah, once again, this is Sagan Simcoe from BL Companies. Yeah, when I go out and do wetlands, I obviously look for vernal pools or areas that could be potential vernal pools while I'm on the site. The only area that really had any earmarks, or being close to it would be Wetland B, but it just had high groundwater. It did not have any other characteristics that you normally see with a vernal pool. So, and there were certainly no species. I think I was out there in March, so I did not see any obligate species whatsoever in either Wetland A or Wetland B. So.
Great, thanks.
Anything else?
No, I think it's, again, happy to answer any questions. We do have the comment letters, so we will be, providing some revised plans with a response and providing some additional information based on, what staff's requesting.
Okay, great.
So.
I'd like to open up to the commissioners. Derek, do you have any? No?
no questions.
Commissioner O'Connor?
I don't have any questions.
Commissioner, Secretary Schweitzer?
Yeah, a few questions. There are some major changes on this from what you had previously presented a month ago. Could you review those changes with us quickly?
Sure. Can we put up, yeah, so the plan that we're looking at is C 2.0. It's the grading and drainage plan. Basically, the changes, for the most part, again, it's the same development plan, right? So same number of buildings, same parking, that sort of thing. What we did was we were looking at two main things, the earthwork, trying to minimize the earthwork. So we did raise the site raised the central portion of the parking area, so the two driveways did get slightly steeper. That allows us to have one less rock, less cut material, so there's less material leaving the site. We're able to balance it a little bit better by raising that site up. The other thing we did that is different than what you saw last time would be, actually two other things. So Building A, which is the building on the left-hand side, again, in an effort to try to reduce some of the cut that was going on and trying to balance things out a little bit better. Building A moved a little bit to the north. You'll notice that we have a parking area to the south of Building A. It's between Building A and the street. That flip-flopped. So previously, Building A was where that parking area is, and the parking was to the north. So we flipped those. We were able to get some measurable quantity of cut and fill out of that helped us quite a bit. And then the other area that changed from what you'd seen last time is to the right, and some of the area we were just talking about where that pipe is. So we have the sewers for this site. The only there's no sanitary sewers in Enterprise Drive. The sanitary sewers are in Capitol Boulevard. So the only way for us to get to the sanitary sewer is, so we have to get a line out to Capitol Boulevard. And the easiest way for us to do that is to provide a pipe out towards the intersection where there is a manhole and connection to get into. So previously we showed a connection there on the last plans. I think we were only showing a 20 or 30 foot wide swath to get that through. However, we relooked at that and the slopes in there and determined that we needed to create a larger berm to provide cover over that pipe. And then getting into that area again, removing trees to do that, creating a landscaped area, it changes the stormwater values that we're looking at. So we had to create another small stormwater basin in that area right there. So I think those are the three main areas that changed.
Okay, I mean, those are the three I noticed. I just want to hear your explanation. Thank you. Catch basin number 3, at that pipe we're still talking about, there's an existing 18-inch pipe that comes out north of that. What's the plan for that? Is that pipe going to be capped and removed?
A portion of the pipe that extends onto our site would be removed, where we're going to put in a new structure there. So yes, I mean, we're not going to touch the pipe in the right-of-way as it crosses under there.
Understood.
But on our site, correct, we'd be removing a portion of that pipe.
And then going down further, just to the west of your first driveway there, you're installing the manhole, which is going on top of the 36-inch RCP that goes across the road. The 30-inch pipe that goes to the north, where does that go to?
If I'm looking at the plan, so from the, you're saying from the,
Onto your site, there's a 30-inch pipe that goes from that manhole to the north, manhole 1.
right. So again, so that would be, so that's a new structure that we're putting in to connect into that pipe. Anything north of that, any existing pipe there north of that structure would be removed. But the pipe headed kind of in a northwesterly direction is basically the outlet from the central pond area. So there's an outlet control structure there.
Correct.
Water will then discharge through that pipe into the manhole 1 and then into the existing pipe that then gets into the system and
Survey
flows south.
showed that 30-inch pipe is having a break through it, so where does that go? I mean, it shows
it's a stub.
the squiggle
It does-
line, so
It's, right, it's a stub. So,
stub.
so it doesn't, there's no inlet to that pipe currently. It's a stub that was left basically for future connection, which is what we're doing, so.
Okay. All right. Will you be providing details on your hydrodynamic separators?
Yes, we will, yeah. So two of them are kind of, I don't want to call them a standard separator, but two of them are because they're an online separator, and then two of the other ones by the road are actually inserts within the catch basins. But yeah, we'll be providing details for all of those.
Okay. Snow removal and storage on site. Do you have a plan for that? And where this will be kept?
I don't. We will provide that in the next submission. I will note that, so with regards to snow storage, there's usually the main thing we're looking at there, and you're probably already aware, but we want to make sure that where the snow is going, it's going to be plowed up, it's going to have all the pollutants in it. So we want to make sure that when it melts, that water's still going to get treated. And for the most part, we're talking about parking lot areas, not roof areas. But ideally, the plan I'll come back and show you where that's going to be so that the snow will melt. So again, we're kind of lucky in that we're not directly adjacent to wetlands. We're not plowing snow into wetlands, and that water's going to run into the wetlands. Everything should be positioned such that the water will drain. It'll either get into a catch basin, or it should just drain into a catch basin or directly into one of the infiltration basins where there's just obviously vegetative uptake, and then there's the retention area. So pollutants wouldn't be passed directly down into the brook.
Okay.
So, but again, I'll
We'd
provide
like to
that
see
plan.
that on a revised report. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely.
I don't know if was there an illumination plan included within?
I believe there's a lighting plan,
Is there a
yes.
lighting
Yeah,
plan?
you know why? Because I know staff had a question about conduit runs between
Okay.
lines, which we don't typically do at this point. It's usually more of a construction document. thing. But
You said 18,000 cubic yard of rock. Is that going to be blasted, or?
Yeah, again, I'll provide a copy of the geotech report. I believe that some of it's rippable, but we're definitely planning on that we'll have to be blasting some of the material, for sure. Yeah.
All right. I noticed in the stormwater report, the appendices and the list of figures were not included.
Full reports were provided. I got
Okay.
some of
Yeah,
them.
only because it's like a 200-page report, so they
Okay,
asked us
you're
to.
welcome to take that one with you.
That's fine, I just saw it listed there and it just wasn't included. The other question I had, in looking at between the wetland and water course report and then also the stormwater, and then also what you're reporting, there's a difference in the areas. One's reporting 21.77 acres, the other one's at 22 acres. And then the soil types are not matching up with what I saw within your plans. So if there could be reviewed for consistency,
Sure, yeah.
understand what's
Yep.
going on. Okay, and then.
Yeah, and I mean, and just to go back, I mean, I think because like in our storm report, I heard Commissioner Stevens talk about a little bit about the NRCS. I think the stormwater design, when it's done, it's based on NRCS soils, and that's why that soils data is included in the storm report.
It-
So,
Yeah, no, it's just different. And from what you
Right.
show within your plan set and what's in the wetland report,
sure,
slight
Understood.
differences that.
Understood.
Your utilities going up the west driveway, are you planning on going underneath your storm sewer system? Storm sewer system seems to be high, so your water, your electric, your gas will go underneath?
right, those are all, yeah, underground utilities that would have crossings most likely. I mean, I'd have to check the inverts at some of the crossings, but electric lines, telephone lines are typically only 36 inches deep, usually, not
Right,
very,
so
very
you'll
deep.
have to go lower with those?
Right.
And your water, you'll get the
Yep.
proper clearance?
And
and go
water,
under.
right.
Okay.
And there's no gas on the project.
Okay, sorry about that. And then the one handicap ramp to the northwest of Building B, that kind of puzzled me because you get the handicap ramp and then you go right to a staircase.
I'm not following where you're,
At Building B,
Right.
northwest side, the sidewalk that crosses along the north side of the building.
right,
You go out to your westerly driveway,
yep,
I'm seeing a sidewalk ramp and then I'm seeing a set of stairs right there.
correct. Right.
Okay, makes it a little difficult.
It's
At
not, yeah, I
times.
mean, it's not handicap accessible because it's stairs, is that the,
That's part of my point, yeah, you have a handicap ramp and then you put stairs right in
oh,
front.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yes.
It's a weird part of the code that we're required to have a curb
Okay.
ramp, but yes.
I'm all set for now, thank you.
Commissioner Stevens?
I don't think I really have any other questions at this point, other than the sidewalk.
Okay. Commissioner Brown?
Could you describe to me what's behind Building C, the immediate, how that drops off? And how much distance there is from the back of the building to when it transitions?
So today, the whole site, including this area, is wooded. And there's some lower scrub brush. I mean, I can kind of give you a better description ecologically. But so under the proposed condition behind the building, we're looking at a 3-to-1 slope. And so all the slopes here maximize 3-to-1 slopes.
Okay.
So behind the building, we're looking at a 3-to-1 slope down. And then, so the closest we would be getting to the wetlands there, I can get a final number, but we're roughly about 60 feet or so from, I think it's flag 15, I'm sorry. Flag 18.
From,
So that area, so the limited disturbance would be at the bottom of that slope, and that slope would be grass. It would be a lawn seed mix on that slope. And then beyond the limited disturbance would be the existing conditions,
from,
trees.
how wide is it? Because I see it's very small on the map, but how, is it accessible for people to walk behind that building?
Yes, yeah, I mean, we probably, we can come back to some numbers, but yeah. So the building does show, there's some rectangles that you'll note. Those would be first floor patios, and then above are balconies. But yeah, there's a few feet, so you could walk. I don't think we would encourage people to be walking back there, because again, those are residents, residents' backyards,
Yeah.
so, right.
Okay. And the only other thing, when we were talking about lighting, I always try to say, 3K light or 4K maximum, because this was a wooded area. The last thing you want to do is use like 5,000 K lighting, because that's daylight. Now, anything that's living in there. So,
Okay, I'll take a look at what the numbers are, and we can.
yeah, we've
probably make
had some projects
adjustments.
before, and it's like, it's not intensity, it's the actual color of the light, white, bright light or cool white.
Right.
But not, not the daylight for the lighting.
And I believe what's proposed are LEDs, so we do have the opportunity to.
Right, to tune.
To tune them, yeah, correct. So
Okay.
I'll confirm that with lighting.
Okay, thanks, that's it.
Commissioner Beatty?
No questions.
Okay. Excuse me. Yes, I agree with Commissioner Schweitzer. We need to know where you're gonna be putting that snow. And actually, Commissioner Brown even brought up a good idea or good point about the slope behind Building C. I have to agree with you, because I'm at Altera, and there is one building that has a severe slope behind there. So I'm just worried about people throwing things into the wetlands also, so,
Oh, I see, yeah,
yeah. Yep,
okay,
okay.
understood.
I don't have any further questions. Can I get a motion, please? Or Dave, did you have anything? Go ahead.
Just one question
Yeah,
before you
go
do
ahead.
any motions. If you wanted to do a site walk,
Yes.
would we be doing that as a commission?
Yes.
And so would we be doing a special meeting?
Yes.
And would that be, do you want to pick a date now, or do you want me to offer up some dates and then, I mean, because, I don't know what what your schedule is.
I can accommodate any time, I mean, it's your, whatever works best for you folks, we can,
Okay, and then with the daylight hours, it would be,
Saturday or
it'd be
Sunday.
a Saturday or a Sunday, yeah. So, whatever your preference is, just,
Do we have any suggestions from any of the commissioners? Saturday, Sunday, morning, afternoon? Before we get snow?
Whatever's warmest.
It's warmest, yeah, right?
July.
Well, definitely before the next meeting,
correct.
definitely. So that gives us, excuse me,
So,
4 weeks. So our next meeting is going to be what, the 19th? Excuse me. It's going to be the 12th of February.
can we tentatively schedule it for a week from this Saturday? This Saturday is a little
Yeah,
close.
yes, let's
So,
go ahead and do that.
I don't know what the date would be.
And, yeah, my preference would be morning.
So that,
Excuse me.
that would be the 18th.
Have a conflict in the morning.
You have conflict in the morning, okay. Early afternoon? Like 1-ish? Work for you? Work for you guys? Okay,
Where do you want to meet?
meet over at the site.
I was gonna say, yeah, we have, yeah, I mean, I don't, I can't tell you to park across the street. The south end, I mean,
On a Saturday, I think it would,
They're not there on the
probably
weekends.
not, yeah.
Yeah, the doctors aren't there on the weekends. So, yeah, we could park
Okay.
over at Orthopedic Associates.
Yep.
They're taking, what, 6, 7, 8 spots. I don't think it's going to hurt them.
I agree.
So, okay. All right, so tentatively, January 18th, 1 o'clock.
I'll prepare an agenda and,
Perfect, thank you.
it's,
Thank you. Okay,
Make a motion to table the application for permit for AR Building Company, Inc., Carabel Emily Mitchell, proposal to construct a multifamily residential development with associated parking, sidewalks, landscaping, utilities, and stormwater management located at 200 Capitol Boulevard, also known as parcel ID number 16-269.
second?
Second? You got it.
Okay. All right, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nope. Okay, so we will see you on February 12th.
Great, thank you so much.
Or actually, we'll see you on the
And
18th first.
Right.
Then we'll see you on the 12th.
I'll be sending you the agenda and
Okay, next item on the agenda is, and I am going to kill your last name, Stephen Ingleterra. Okay, that's not bad. Proposal to construct a single-family residential home, driveway, and associated grading located at 59 Chapin Avenue, AKA parcel number, ID number 09-746. Thank
Hello.
you.
Good evening.
Hello.
Stephen Ingleterra, 1736 Hebron Avenue, Glastonbury, Connecticut, 06033. So we had, in the last meeting, spoken about moving the home in a different direction to steer a little clearer or further away from the wetlands. So we had proposed this on the new plan, having the home go at a slant along where the easement is, as you see, it's a very, there's a lot of obstacles on the lot. So we do have the corner on the garage side, which is the south corner. That's still going to be fairly close to the wetlands area. I do have my soil scientist here for all questions, so he'll be able to answer those. But instead of it having a 52-foot line across the side of the home on that wetland side, it's just that point, and then the rest of the home in that 52-foot area that we had modified the home location is open and clear. The space on where the home is in the rear is a little further as well from the wetlands in the rear there. And then we did put some arborvitaes or some type of foliage or some type of trees in that back area to kind of, match up to what's already wooded in that area. So it is going to be on a slab, so there's not going to be a basement dug. We did talk about that at the last meeting. And that's really it, so.
Okay, questions, Commissioner Beatty?
No questions.
Commissioner Brown?
Not a question, but thank you for looking and switching the house, because that was my biggest concern.
Yes.
Was that their backyard opened into the wetlands, now their backyard is opening onto the property line, and they won't go back there, so.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank
we're
you
not
very
doing-
much for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you for suggesting that. And we're not doing a deck, so that, there's not going to be anything else that would be added to the rear, just so you're aware.
Okay, that's it.
Commissioner Stevens?
I know you don't have any direct wetland impacts, but do you have any mitigation for the indirect impacts that are likely be occurring?
Good evening. For the record, my name is William Jackson. I'm a registered soil scientist in southern New England, and my office is in the town of Berlin, Connecticut. As far as mitigation, I did have a conversation with the applicant, and there is that wetland that was that small, isolated, wet elliptical depression. It's about 340 square feet in area. It's at the northeastern property corner in the vicinity in a wooded area. And if the applicant would be willing to improve that wetland area, and we would, we do not have a specific plan at the moment, but the applicant is willing to prepare a mitigation plan for that area and to improve that area.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Okay. Secretary Schweitzer?
While you're up there, I mean, do you have a report on these wetlands, or can you give us a synopsis of what type of wetlands we have out here?
Yes, I did prepare a report, the October 30th report. I'm not sure that you received that.
Okay. I may have missed it, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Could
okay.
you summarize it for us, though, please?
The October 30th report, sure. So basically, the Web Soil Survey had published soil map units. The site was identified as being underlain largely by the Wilbraham silt loam, which is a poorly drained soil, glacial till parent material, and that was mapped throughout the site. In the course of the investigation in June of 2024, it was determined that the area had been largely modified historically. Both the, obviously the commercial area along Silas Deane Highway, as well as the residential developments along Chapin Avenue. So that area of land bounded to the west by Chapin Avenue and to the east by the Silas Deane Highway was largely filled and sloping in a northeasterly direction with drainage swales along the property boundaries between the approximately half-acre lots that are occupied by the approximately half-acre residential lots. Each lot has a, in the vicinity of the subject property anyway, appears to have like a drainage swale to convey runoff in a easterly direction to a drainage swale that is parallel to the eastern property boundary that eventually conveys runoff further in an easterly direction towards Silas Deane Highway. So the subject property is largely filled with a sandy loam fill material, rendering it an Udorthent. The site plan shows in the southeastern section of the property, it shows the drainage swale. And that drainage swale contained what we referred to as aquents. It's a fill material that has a seasonal, has characteristics that suggest that it's poorly drained. And so that was flagged in the vicinity of the drainage swale in the southeastern section of the property. And then, as I said previously, there was an elliptical wetland, about 340 square feet in area, that was delineated in a wooded area in the northeastern section of the property.
Okay, thank you. Those are the only questions I have.
Okay, Commissioner O'Connor?
I don't have any questions.
Derek?
No additional questions.
Okay. I do have to say, you are 6 inches away from a variance, getting a variance. 6 inches. So, Good going on that one. I really don't have any questions. That was just, yeah, it's a crazy lot. Always has been. But, okay, I don't have anything. Can I get a motion, please?
Maybe just discussion a little bit.
Go for it.
They said that they would be up to doing some mitigation.
Okay.
Do we want to proceed with this or table it until they come up with a mitigation plan, or what does everybody think?
Discussion from the commission?
I'm not sure I'd want to touch the wetlands other than maybe removing invasives. What are you thinking, Scott? Well, through the chair, what are you thinking?
I don't know, it's, my general thought is this is a really tight lot, and they're right on the wetland line, and,
Yeah, they're only 6.5 feet from the
6.5
wetlands.
feet, I mean, grading and whatnot, I mean, you're really close to the wetlands, and then if people, that move in there, they may try to do things with their backyard to improve it, and
Yeah. Dave? Jody? Nothing? I would say if we allow this, we go ahead and, we have to mark those wetlands somehow. So that it's not going to be, because you're planning on renting this, correct? Or are you going to plan on living in it? Okay. Okay. Well, in that case, but still, I'd like to see some kind of marking. Do you, considering we are so close to the wetlands, and to be honest, we usually don't allow it this close to the wetlands. So,
Are you talking about the wetlands on the southern edge of the site or the isolated?
no, on the southern part of the site.
you're talking about like placing placards
Yeah,
to.
just some kind of marking that we know that, in future notes. Because we are looking at only 6.5 feet from the wetlands on the southern part of the site.
Well, that particular wetland, if placards were placed, they would only be on the north side. There's an existing backyard on the south side with no placards leading up to the wetlands. Maybe the commission might want to consider something like a split rail fence or a chain link fence outside of the wetlands, then it's more permanent.
Would you be open to?
I was just thinking that when you were talking about placards was a fence or whatever would make the,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just concerned, I don't want to see things, again, being thrown into the wetlands.
Absolutely.
And I know that we do have an existing house on the other side, which I'm sure, I don't know, that house was probably built 50 years ago, so it's a little bit difficult. Okay, all right. Yeah, I like the idea of a fence, just something to mark that out. You okay with that, Scott?
I mean, from the soil scientist, what's your feeling on the functions and values of this wetland?
I did prepare a letter report regarding function and value. I have 8 prints of that report. I can distribute 7 now, and I can give the 8th to Mr. Palmer afterwards, if that's okay with you.
I mean, if this is new submitted material, maybe we want to table and go over all this, or?
Yeah. See how.
Give my copy to Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So basically, I can go through this report. I can cut to the chase on page 2. The potential wetland function and values were considered based on guidance from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Wetland Functions and Values, a descriptive approach. The subject wetlands exhibited the following features. Sediment, toxicant, pathogen retention. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer guidance, this function reduces or prevents degradation of water quality. It relates to the effectiveness of the wetland as a trap for sediments, toxicants, or pathogens. And the gently sloping drainage swales, particularly the north-south trending drainage swale along the eastern property boundaries for the residences, provides relatively flat vegetated areas with potential to attenuate and clarify runoff prior to flow off-site. However, given the limited area, the function does not have significant value. In other words, there's not enough area to really polish or clarify a large area, a large contribution of runoff. The second function that was identified, a potential function, is wildlife habitat within the wooded areas of the property. However, these areas are limited and confined because of the surrounding land use, the urban land or the commercial land use along Silas Deane Highway, and the residential developments along Chapin Avenue. It's a very confined and isolated area, and it does not appear to contain critical habitats. The December 2024 Natural Diversity Database map for the town of Rocky Hill identifies known locations of state and federal listed species and critical habitats within hatched areas. The land area bounded by Chapin Avenue and Silas Deane Highway was outside of any hatched areas shown on that map. So basically, those are the two functions, the two potential functions that were identified on the property, and some description of them.
Okay. Well, that changes then. It's not really that big of a wetlands to have to mandate putting up fences. But I would, make a note in the records, Dave, about the wetlands being there, So that, and the same thing we would send out to anybody about any wetlands of the, no throwing in there or anything else, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, lawn clippings and so
Right,
forth.
lawn clippings, leaves, things like that. Yep. Okay. All right, I don't think we really need to table this, so. Okay, can I go ahead and get a motion, please?
Sure. I make a motion to pass the proposal to construct a single-family residential home driveway and associated grading located at 59 Chapin Ave, AKA parcel ID 09-746.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yes. I can make a friendly amendment to myself that a wooden fence be installed behind, some form of wooden fence be installed behind the house to delineate the wetland.
Do I have a second?
I thought John did second.
No, for
Oh,
his friendly
friendly
amendment, to put the fence up behind the house.
Can we discuss that now?
Yeah,
I guess, what's standard and customary? Like, are we asking them to do something that we don't ask anyone else in the town to do? Like, so I can understand the point, we want to put a point, something there, but, yeah.
Well, in this case, we're like, through the chair, in this case, we're like 6 feet off.
Right.
It's like, put something there. We have asked for placards in the past, something, but in this case, because there's nothing on the other side, the easiest thing to do is put some form of delineation, say, okay, you're not going, because you're in the 100-foot upland review, so whatever it's like now is after the house is built is how it's going to stay. So if it's grass, it's going to stay grass. If the grass becomes weeds, trees, whatever, it's going to stay weeds, trees, whatever. But on the other side where the wetland is, there's a line saying, don't touch this.
And could it be a fence of their choice?
Well, something,
Something that fits?
you wouldn't put a chain link fence back there, right? Because it's on top of your house.
Either wooden or
some,
Something solid, I would,
right,
more
some,
than likely,
yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just have one more question, too. How close is the house at 57, the house to the south? How close is that house to this wetland swale, roughly?
Do you know, Dave?
The northern end of that house is, I think the wetland starts probably 20, 30 feet behind the garage. It is lawn, so it's lawn on both sides. It's been mowed. Historically mowed, including the wetland area.
There's where they're putting the house, and there's the house.
Okay.
So they're back here.
My thinking is right now is, I don't think we really need a fence now that we've gotten the functionality of that wetlands, where there really isn't any function to that wetlands. You know, that's why I said we just make it known that, yes, there are wetlands back there. And now, Dave, you're also saying that in the past it has, and it's been mowed.
Yeah.
So that right there, it couldn't even tell the functionality of that wetland is minimal,
Yeah, I mean,
you know?
based on the size and it being located right along the property line, that when that lot was filled for whatever purpose back in the day, I think a water course was relocated along the property line that used to be in the middle of that lot.
Right.
It's a wet area. It's going to be wet because the neighbor next door has been in multiple times about that. It does stay, you're not going to be rolling around in the grass out there in that area. The fence, and like I said, the southern side of that wetland, it's not a very wide wetland. The southern side of that, there's no fence or any
Right.
delineation there if kids are playing out there, so
Okay, I withdraw the proposed amendment then.
Okay. No offense.
I tried.
Yeah, okay.
That
Okay.
does, but hang on. That doesn't mean you can't put a fence in, but it's your choice.
probably will, but, I appreciate it, though. I'm taking your advice, so, yes.
Okay. Any other further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope.
I'm opposed.
One oppose. Okay, you got it. We approved you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is actions taken, minutes presented for approval for the December 11th, 2024 meeting. Do I have a motion, please? I can't make a motion, I wasn't here. Do I have a motion? Jody can't either. Hey, make a motion. Approve the minutes from last month.
Make a motion to approve the action minutes presented from the December 11th, 2024 meeting.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I think I need to abstain. I wasn't.
I abstain also. Okay, discussion, plan of conservation and development.
there's nothing to report, but I did speak with the town planner, Kim Ritchie, and she's discussing like revamping the approach of that committee. We will need to name a new appointee from this commission to that. But she kind of asked me to hold off while they're
Sure.
squaring away a few other things, so
Right. Does
that'll be
she-
in the near future.
In the near future, okay. Okay, nope, that's fine. Status report, various projects?
Being wintertime, we're in planning mode. We have sidewalk projects coming up for the next construction season on Glastonbury Avenue, Century Hills Phase 1, and Elm Street. We're hoping to have those go out to bid in the near future. And as part of our MS4 permit, preparing our annual report for 2024. We just, in running, tallying up the numbers, just so you're aware, we've cleaned in 2024, we cleaned just over about 1,020 catch basins and sediment structures, which we try to do a third of the town each year. So we go around, third. That'll be done and posted probably in February for comment, and then submitted to DEEP in, I believe it's April, we submit.
What have the conditions been for those catch basins, besides the ones that we know have flooded out?
Overall, very well. A lot of them we did, about half of them we did before we did the construction on the west side of town this year, to know if we needed to rebuild any or not. We do inspections at the same time as cleaning them out. And with the maintenance, since we started the MS4 permit, this cleaning has been occurring. So we have deep sumps on most of our catch basins, almost all of them. So that really seems to help, and an indication of that is in working on the construction, the road reconstruction on the west side of town. There was a sediment structure that had been forgotten about, that was installed about 20 years ago. It was off the street, basically, a sediment structure with a baffle in it, similar to like a septic tank. Cleared that, it had grown over with woods and that. Cleared that out, we opened it up, and it only had about a third of its capacity was taken, but with sediment. So the indicates to me that the sumps and the catch basins upstream are doing their job.
Definitely. Cool. Quick question on Belden Lane. Was that ever done? Remember they were going to fix up the structure there of that stream that goes from Cedar Hollow?
I'm sorry.
Remember that?
It's the lining of the pipe.
Yeah,
The
the lining.
lining.
Yeah.
Oh, Belden Lane.
Belden Lane, yeah.
Belden Lane. That project's been paused. We haven't met, there's two conditions from this commission on that. We haven't been able to get a soil scientist to respond to us for that. And then the costs associated with that and with the appraisal of the easement needed came in significantly high, so it's been paused, that project.
Okay. Are we monitoring that pipe though?
Yes.
Okay.
It is getting a little worse on the eastern side, that slope where the head wall is. It is getting worse. It hasn't gotten better. But,
Yeah, I'm sure about that, yeah.
there's also, there was a grant was obtained, not 100% sure that the type of the grant, but a grant was obtained to assist Cedar Hollow with correcting storm drainage within their property, which contributed or may have contributed to some of the flooding there when we, 2 years ago. Cedar Hollow's in litigation with a developer next door, so I don't know if that will happen. It was a $500,000 grant for construction. But, it's kind of bogged down with litigation, so.
Sure.
Other than that, we're finalizing what we have left in the road referendum money for what we can do for road reconstruction. We have future sidewalk projects that we're looking to do, some of them being along Hayes Road, which we're at least trying to have get the plans ready. So if grant opportunities come up, we can, have plans in hand, shovel-ready sidewalk projects.
Great. Okay, open space?
Open space, nothing really to report. It's all quiet at the farm. We are having environmental professional, just look at the test results that were done previously in the areas of the community gardens before we finalize a plan for how we're going to do the community gardens. We may be doing some soil flipping to not treat the soil, naturally treat the soils. That's a practice supported by DEEP for shallow. It's natural, the issue is naturally occurring arsenic.
Right.
So that's all I have to say about that.
Legislation,
And nothing to report,
conferences,
nothing to report,
correspondence, communications,
nothing to report,
other business?
nothing to report.
Motion to adjourn, please. What, nobody wants to go home?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? I'm not even going to go to discussion. Good night, all. Thank you. See you next month.